Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Local SEO and Marketing Q&A session. My name is Eric Schoenfeld. I'm the founder of Local Marketing Institute, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my co-patriots in crime here, Ben Fisher and Jason Brown. Hey guys.
Hey, what's going on?
Nice. Hey, we're going to get started here, and I've got tons of questions and some new updates to go over. But first of all, I want to make sure that we've got a little bit of housekeeping that we got to cover. First of all, some contact information. You can find me at localmarketinginstitute.com, but make sure you know you can find Ben out at steadydemand.com and at The Social Dude on Twitter. You can find Jason at reviewfraud.org and at Kaiser Holiday, but Jason's got a new website we're going to show you here in just a minute. So hang on to that thought. We'll get to that. Also let you know, really encourage you, if you're not already doing it, go to localmarketinginstitute.com. Sign up for our email newsletter. We send out one email a week letting you know about these sessions, about other things that are going on for local businesses who are interested in digital marketing. Also, subscribe to our podcast. You can find it on Apple. You can find it on pretty any platform out there, Spotify, Google, you name it. I still think, guys, we're ranked number 5 in Belarus, which is awesome. And then if you're not on it yet, go out to Facebook and search for Local Marketing Institute Connect. This is our Facebook group, and it is really a positive, ethical group helping out businesses. Some of the most well-respected digital marketers in the world are a part of the group. So come on out and join us out there. You can ask your specific questions. I also want to do a little plug for next week's session. We're going to have Joe Danzer with Advanced Online Insights join us as our special guest. If you haven't heard Joe before, Joe is the expert when it comes to virtual tours, Google 360 photography, Google Street View. So he's going to come on and he'll be chatting a lot about that. And he really is, I think, one of the foremost experts in the world on that particular subject. So that was kind of it for that part. I did want to join in here and let you guys know if you have any questions at all, feel free to use the Q&A function that's there in Zoom, or feel free to type it in the chat. We've opened up chat here on Zoom. If you're watching us live on Facebook, you can just type your questions there in the comments. We'll be monitoring those. We do have a lot of questions that we want to try to get to here quickly. But first, I do want to start talking about here. Let's bring up in this little window over here, and yeah,
we got to show off Jason's new website.
Got to show off Jason's new website.
He worked really hard on this.
Oh, yeah, sharing us on.
So, I mean, I think that why don't you just share the name of the website first and let everybody go visit it?
Absolutely will. So for those of you who don't know, go ahead.
You're sharing your
Asana again.
Oh, I'm sharing Asana. Well, that's not a good thing. Let's share the right screen. There we go. For those of you who don't know, Jason's Twitter handle is Kaiser Holiday, which someday we still want to hear that story. But go out to kaiserholiday.com, and this is what you're going to get. So you're going to get rickrolled. Never going to give you up. So I don't know what's happening. Did someone squat on the domain or something, Jason?
Yeah, Blake Denman was messaging me last night. He's like, "Hey man, kaiserholiday.com is available. You should purchase it before I do." And so, we were on Clubhouse, and I was hosting a room. And so when I wasn't speaking, I grab my wallet, I go over to my computer, and I go to buy the domain. And next thing I know, I see that it's bought, and I was like, wait, it's bought? And I punched it into Google, and Blake Denman rickrolled me. So then I blasted it out on Twitter and sent it to a few people so I could rickroll them back. So
there's a part of this story that you don't know, Jason.
No.
So while we're both co-moderating this room, right, on Clubhouse, so Blake's slacking me at the same time. He's like, so should I do it? Should I do it? And I was like,
of course.
Yes, do it. Of course, do it.
Well, Blake, on behalf of all of us, thank you very much. This made my day when I saw this. We're going to give Blake another shout out here later on some things that I think you guys are going to really like. So it was a really good tip for helping speed up your websites. So we're going to get to that. So anyway, awesome. Go check it out before Jason reclaims it and redirects it to his own website. That's pretty awesome. Speaking of Clubhouse, I wanted to bring that up real quick. So I want to let you know, that's not Clubhouse, but let's switch to Clubhouse. There's Clubhouse. So for those of you who don't know, Clubhouse is this kind of new social media network out there. It's all the rage with all the kids these days. Anybody who's everybody is kind of out there. Jason's out there, Ben's out there, I'm out there. There's tons of folks out there. It is kind of an invite only. If you want to hit me up, I do have 4 invites open. I'm going to judiciously hand those out. Jason has 7 and Ben has 4. So we got Jim McDonald says he's got 5. So yeah, it's going to grow rapidly. You can find an invite out there. What it is, it's kind of talk radio. If you want to, there's shows that are on all the time. I wanted to bring this out for 2 reasons. One, it's the latest. It's the latest shiny object I'll put out there for folks from a social media standpoint. I'm seeing a lot of folks out there right now who are saying, hey, as a local business, you got to be on Clubhouse. And so I think that's debatable, whether or not it has any value out there. I think there's too many other things that have a higher value. However, there are a lot of good shows out there, even in the local marketing space. Ben, Jason, you want to talk about the one you guys are hosting?
Yeah. So was invited actually by Darren the other week, and he had Jason and I on. We were sitting there talking about spam. And, the thing about Clubhouse is this. And by the way, everybody, I see your chats about it being iOS only. It is iOS only. But you know what? It's worth it. Go out and get yourself a cheap $100 iPod Touch or something like that, or go on a Craigslist or something, and you can do it right on your iPod Touch. So very cheap way of getting it, and you can get in. Anyway, so the interesting thing that I found out about is it feels a lot like how, and I know everybody's going to hate this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It feels like the way Google Plus was back in the day, where you could make really, really great connections with high profile people very easily. And it almost feels like it's kind of like a fireside chat. So what Jason and I are doing now is every single Thursday at 4:00 Pacific Standard Time, we're going ahead and we are starting up a show. It's about local SEO and Google My Business. And I have a rumor that Mr. Eric is going to actually be joining us as well.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And, Noah's out there, Noah Lerner, big shout out to him. He's making rooms all day long.
Yeah.
The one that Jason and I did yesterday, I was in it for 3 hours. Jason hung around for another hour. I have no idea how you did that, dude. But it's just a really great way of connecting with like-minded people. And, like I said, it's just the connections that you get. I mean, I've already booked 4 or 5 meetings with some people that I would have never, ever met before. And yeah, so that's what I got to say about it. What about you,
my friend of mine, Dennis Yu, he's a huge fan of this. So, I think it's interesting. I've been on it. I've dabbled. I haven't gone in real deep. Bottom line, it's another great resource for you guys if you want to learn more out there. There's a lot of good things out there. Definitely check out Ben and Jason's show. But as a local business to market yourself, I'm not sure if it has a whole ton of value at this point yet. I think is my point.
And what I'm going to say is like, because you raise your hand and get brought up on stage, and so I think as an audience member, I get queasy and easily turned off when somebody just starts heavy with the self promotion and is like, well, I am this and this and this is my business. But I mean, look, If you are a local business, yeah, you can get into some of these great SEO chats and you can start asking questions and say, hey, this is my business model. What would you recommend that I do? Or, I've jumped in at quite a few of those and given people, some ideas off the cuff, especially like the SEO technical audit rooms. People ask questions and I start answering stuff, more marketing related than let's just, strip through your site. It's like, well, are you doing this? Have you done this? Have you looked into this? And not just push for, well, let's, fix your website and make it pop.
Yep. One quick thing, Eric, I know you want to move. I know we got to move on, but one quick thing. Last night, there was this one gentleman who came in. He's an employment attorney from San Diego, just starting his practice. And he came in and he asked the brilliant question of, I'm just starting my practice. What do I need to do? And so from everything, he got everything from business advice to local SEO advice to how to set up his name on GMB, how to set up his category, you name it. He was just getting tons of recommendations from the speakers. So that's where I think the value is for a local business, at least today.
Awesome. Well, I want to move on to a couple of other important news stories that are coming out right now. And then we got tons of questions already coming in. So Ben, Google just released some new stats regarding their spam fighting on GMB. Do you want to give us a quick update on this?
Yeah, the fact is that the stats that they've released yesterday, they've kind of made this an annual thing now ever since the Wall Street Journal article came out 2 years ago. So now we got 2019, now 2020 stats on the amount of spam that they have removed. And you can probably thank Jason and I for about 50% of this. No, but seriously. So what they've stated is they blocked and removed 55 million policy violating reviews. 3 million fake business profiles. It's about 20 million fewer reviews than 2019, but they are saying that's because of COVID. They also are saying that they took down more than 960,000 reviews, 300,000 business profiles that were reported by Google Maps users. Suggest and edit actually works, according to their stats. And also, 160 million photos, 3.5 million videos that were I thought that was kind of interesting. 3.5 million videos. And the really cool stat that I liked was they disabled 610,000 user accounts after detecting suspicious or basically policy violating behavior. Now, whether that's just what I don't know about that number is, are they talking about account level suspensions or are they talking about like the listing? It sounds like accounts, but you get suspicious behavior in the email. So, and then there's also the fact that they have 3 million attempts by bad actors who are trying to verify business profiles. That actually is a really cool stat right there. That I don't believe that existed last year as a stat, and that's pretty awesome. And I can definitely, I would probably say that that's a large part to a lot of people do submit to, like Jason and me and other PEs, ways that people are trying to manipulate the system. And we pass that information off to Google. But also their machine learning is working overtime, trying to figure these things out too. So kudos to Google for at least releasing some information.
So JB, interesting question here. Maybe you can tackle this one here. Has this led to a lot more false positives coming through and companies seeing greater problems with suspensions and things being removed that shouldn't be removed? And is the balance right at this point?
Yeah, so there's always going to be false positives. So, Google can't be 100% accurate all the time, and that's why, whenever we're talking, about, people wanting to use a virtual office, we're like, yeah, you could use a virtual office, but it puts a big old, target on your back. Yes, you can rebrand your business with your keywords in it, but it puts a big old, bullseye on your back. And when Google's doing a sweep and they're seeing things that look suspicious and matches a certain query, because remember, Google deals in queries a lot. So if it is, keywords in the business name and a virtual office, and they see a bunch of spam and abuse in that industry, that category, then yeah, you would definitely get caught up in a sweep. And we Ben and I, we see, listings that are getting suspended all the time that shouldn't get suspended. We'll get them reinstated. And then, a month or two later, they get suspended again. And so, it's the nature of the beast, but, it's Google's trying to, curtail and stop some abuse. People are going to get caught up in that mix.
Yeah, there's also one other thing here technically too. So Google uses something which is called a Mendel test, Mendle, if you want to Google it. So what this basically means is that whenever they're running an experiment or when the algorithm is running, there is a certain number or a percentage threshold that is going to basically have a specific number of false positives that should occur from this test. So that's already built in, that the false positives are going to happen. So like Jason was saying is, if you go ahead and you do these kinds of things, you're going to get caught up as a false positive. I mean, it's part of doing business.
So bottom line, Google's continuing to step up its policing of Google My Business, removing fake profiles, removing reviews, removing photos and videos, even removing user accounts. So there is still, though, the possibility of a legitimate business getting caught up in a sweep, like you said, the Mendel principle there. So if it does happen to you guys, if you are a legit business and you are having problems with that, first of all, Ben and Jason are great resources. The Google My Business Forum is a great resource. You can get it restored and get things fixed. So don't lose heart if you do get suspended and you're a legit business and made a legit change. It can get fixed. But I'm glad to see this because I think it's stepping up on a lot of the bad actors out there who are trying to, number one, game the system, or number one, who are just lead gen companies who are trying to create fake GMB listings to sell leads back to legit companies. So I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, we knocked out a couple hundred of those last night.
There we go.
Actually, I think we knocked out about 1,500 in this week.
Yes.
There we go. All right, moving right along. Hey, Jason, you reported something real interesting. You wrote up a quick little thing for local you out there that Bing is dropping Yelp, or so it seems, and it's kind of replacing it with Facebook. And I think Barry Schwartz also said he's also seen some Foursquare stuff. You want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah. So, Bing used to, we would always tell people, verify your Yelp listing because it pushes to Apple Maps and it pushes to Bing. Well, we're not seeing that the default reviews now are Yelp. We're seeing, at least in the States, Facebook, Barry saw it for his listing because he's got Foursquare. I don't know if he had a Facebook page, and I'd be kind of curious to know about that. But when I went into other markets and I checked, queries in Australia, I was seeing other listings, other review platform services showing up. I am also noticing that they're showing reviews from the web. And so some of the queries that I saw here in the States, it was Yelp and then Judy's Book, which I thought was really strange because I don't remember the last time I did any work with Judy's Book. I think I haven't touched Judy's Book since at least 2009, maybe 2010. So it is quite interesting that they made this switch and broke up with Yelp. And there's no information out there that I have been able to find as to what actually transpired, because I think it was like a week or two earlier, we had just seen that they were using Yelp's menus for restaurants, and I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing, Zomato, businesses' own menus, and there was one other one I saw that I'm kind of blanking on off the top of my head. But I mean, it's an interesting change. I mean, is Yelp losing that dominance in the market?
Yeah, well, I think it's significant. I mean, a lot of people say, Bing, who cares? But the fact of the matter is, it still is a pretty powerful citation out there. There's still, I mean, believe it or not, on desktop, it's still right around 20% market share on desktop. But I think it's just interesting to note that Yelp used to syndicate to Bing. Yelp also, I think, still syndicates reviews to Apple Maps, which is a big deal. It's interesting if Yelp has lost us out with Bing, if these changes are going to eventually happen also in Apple Maps, maybe. So it'll be interesting to keep our eye on that.
One can only hope.
No.
I know there is a lot of animosity toward Yelp out there. I do know that, but anyway, we won't get onto that issue here because all the Yelp haters will come out of the woodwork here in droves. Another quick thing I want to talk about is the fact that Google My Business has now added messaging to desktop. So if you haven't seen over here, I brought up the GMB listing for Local Marketing Institute. Before anybody says anything, I realize that we reach a national and international audience with Local Marketing Institute. And Ben said, well, Eric, why are you listing yourself as a service area business? The reason is because I actually do help some companies here in the local area, right? So I help High Hops Brewery just down the road, churches, a couple churches here, a private school, a restaurant. So I chip in and help here. So I wanted to do it because I want to make sure I'm keeping up with this too. It's not my main business, but I keep up with it. Anyway, we wanted to show you here that messages that come in through your profile, right? People can message your business through Google My Business. If you have that turned on and you're keeping up with that, that has been available in the Google My Business app on Android and iOS, but it is now also available on desktop. So I want to make sure you guys were aware about that. And Ben, I think you had some other thoughts you wanted to throw in here about why this was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, this is huge. So initially, you would just basically, if somebody was doing a chat, you would get a mobile notification, and that's about it, right? And now, and you had to use the GMB app basically to do any kind of response. So the thing though is that quotes come in through here, chat of course comes through here. And for any organization that manages north of 99 listings, to be specific, because 100 is the break point, then messaging basically stops on iOS and Android apps for GMB. The other thing is, so that's number one issue. The secondary issue is that so anybody who's like enterprise or multi-location usually has the problem because, again, you were talking about a mobile device, right? Is that they would like, say, their receptionist to answer this or a specific person. Well, guess what? Now anybody can go ahead. They can just go log into GMB web and they can answer it. So it's more effective flow, I guess, basically for businesses to be able to utilize this feature. And I see quotes coming in all the time for my clients from this. So very effective.
A couple of quick points here. I think Sherry pointed out, and I think it's valid here. Messaging on desktop is still rolling out, right? It's not available to everyone yet, but it is rolling out.
Yeah, it's pretty close to 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think March. Well, actually, yeah, Sherry even said that in the chat. March.
Yeah, and we're only a couple of weeks away from that. So it'll be, if you don't have it yet, it will be rolling out soon. Jim brought up a good point about that this is not HIPAA compliant. And I 100% agree, just like text messaging or Facebook messaging or even email. I wouldn't put any sensitive information or ask for sensitive information from potential customers through any messaging platform, whether it's HIPAA, which, medical related, or whether it's, personal finance information or legal information. I wouldn't do any of that through this messaging. So this is a lot like Facebook messaging.
Yeah. And to be clear, I mean, in a sense, this has never been HIPAA compliant, if you think about it, right? Because as a marketing agency, I see messages from personal injury companies all day long. And, or somebody's saying, I've been in an accident, here's my information, so that's technically a violation because I can see that information. Right.
Hey, so we'll off of this here. JB, I want to go back real quickly to the Bing thing because Susan asked a good question here. Is there a way to remove a business completely from a Bing local listing? And I think my first question would be, I don't know why you'd want to do that because it's another good citation. Why bother? But anyway, do you know if there's one? I don't know that there is one.
Most platforms are not going to allow you to remove a listing once it's been created because it's better for a user experience, like especially like Google. Once a listing's been verified, like they want that listing on there. So I think your best course of action is to close it. But it's been a while since I've actually interacted with Bing because when I was working agency side, we created all put all of our clients into Yext, and so Yext automatically created it for us. But yeah, we weren't actively monitoring Bing. There wasn't really a need to, because you can't leave a Bing review, right? Because they're pulling in other parties. So as long as you've got a citation service that's monitoring and keeping your data clean, there wasn't really a need to touch it.
I will say one thing about that, and that is that on Bing, there at the bottom of the listing, I believe it is, there is a feedback button where you can request, actually, just kind of like how you do with Suggest and Edit with Google My Business, where you can basically suggest that they remove the listing.
Oh, as Susan clarified, so I misunderstood the question. It wasn't so much about removing your listing. It was, she meant the name of the building that they're located in. That's a different question. I think we'll have to do a little bit of research on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we can do to look that up for you here, Susan. One more little piece of information here. Do you want to talk a little bit, Ben, about the recent GMB cover and logo image issue?
Yeah, sure. So the core of the issue is really the symptom of the issue is that GMB is basically saying that you are 85% complete on your Google My Business profile completion. And so when you go ahead and you try and set your cover photo and your logo, basically it gets unset. There's a secondary issue that's also happening, and that is that you will see your cover photo and your logo on desktop. However, when you look at it on your mobile app, the cover photo and the logo are missing. And so we just actually met with Google about this today, and they have told us that this should be resolved by the end of the year.
By the end of the year. Okay, well, there you go. There you go. So there's the problem still with the cover photos, the logo images, but it is a known issue and they're working on it, right?
Yes.
But it has zero, let me repeat this again, zero impact on your business, your performance, your visibility. Yes, it is annoying. It's a little frustrating. People are even, really upset on the GMB forum, but it doesn't penalize you, right? Like this, you're at 100% or 85%. Like it doesn't do anything, So now that messaging has been turned on, that was like the biggest reason why my locations for my clients couldn't hit 100%, right? Because we couldn't add cell phones to each and every single franchise, and have it monitored. So, it's like a Yelp score. I mean, it doesn't really impact much. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Awesome. Well, it's still annoying, and at least they're aware of it and they're working on it. So that's a positive. All right, that's it for the updates. I want to get to the questions. We got tons of questions coming through, and I want to dive on in here a little bit on this. So Ben, I'll throw out this one here. This comes from Jennifer. Can I use the same phone number for two different businesses? So let me give you the detail. Have a client who runs a service area business from home for over a decade. Recently started a second business unrelated to the first, also run from home. He has another house he owns nearby he can use for a business address and to store equipment. Is it okay to use the same phone number as his main business for his second business? Or will Google not like that?
There's quite a few things I want to say about this, but I'll start off with, in this situation, no, they should all be unique. And also that third listing that you're talking about doesn't sound super kosher. Just going to say that really quickly. It doesn't sound like it's in the guidelines. As a matter of fact, the second listing doesn't even sound like it's maybe in the guidelines.
The fact that he owns a second house nearby, he might want to use for his second business.
If he owns it, then it's okay. Maybe that third one. What was the third one? Was the third one also owned by the same owner?
No, I think he says he only has two. He has two houses. Both are run out. He runs both as home-based businesses.
Right.
And he wants to know, I think, let's forget the address for a second. Let's just talk the phone number. Should he use the same phone number for both businesses in his Google My Business profile?
So if it's two, then I'm going to say, sure, yeah, you could. You could use the same exact phone number for both of them. There are a lot of it depends kind of situations that go on here, and I'm going to throw that over to JB.
Yeah, so you're going to not be able to use a majority of citation services because there's going to be a lot of confusion with those telephone numbers. So if you're trying to use like a Yext or through SEMrush, you're only going to be able to get one location. And Google, doesn't really like, phone trees. And so if you've got like an issue and you need to get your listing verified, or you got to work with support and they need to call you, they're not going to go through a phone tree to contact you. So there's those nuances. And I see there's a question about, well, what if you're running into a call center? Well, then that's going to be a little bit different, because then you're going to have like, you'd have a toll-free number. You're not going to be using like a local number. But honestly, I think the ultimate thing to do is to go with a call tracking service, a call rail or call metrics, and set up an individual number for each location. And then you can just port it to the number that you want it to go to. So that way you now have a clean telephone number for each business, and you can keep them separate.
I will add one more.
Go ahead, Ben.
I just wanted to add one more thing. And this was actually, I was doing a presentation for PubCon, and I was talking to the GMB spam team about this actually. So, and it just, something you just said, Jason, just jogged my memory on this. Basically what GMB wants and is that the number will go directly to that business. So ultimately what they do want is one number for one business. As far as, phone trees and things like that, call centers go, they're okay as long as somebody does get directed to that actual location. So that's something that they do want.
So I think if I would kind of distill this down a little bit, bottom line, if you've got two separate businesses, use two separate phone numbers. It's going to help keep things separate and make things just easier overall for distinguishing the two businesses for verification or for any other purposes. To the question about, well, what if you are using the same phone number or call center for all your locations? That's different, because those all can use the same phone number because you're all the same business. You're all the same business. You just have multiple locations. So that's no problem at all. So I want to make sure that we kind of clarify that we're really talking two very different circumstances. One is using the same phone number for two completely different businesses. One is using a call center number for multiple locations of the same business. Fair enough?
Yeah. Yep. I saw somebody yesterday, actually, I was talking to them. They had a really, really smart way of doing things, and they were using CallRail to do this, because they had multiple locations, right? Hundreds across the United States. And what would happen is that when you hit their website, basically the phone number would change to a local phone number for you, and that would go into the call center and would automatically route you to that location. So that was pretty cool.
One caveat with that: you better make sure that your page speed is super optimal when especially if you're using dynamic numbers. Because I know of a company that was trying to use dynamic numbers and have that populate, and because their website loaded so slowly, you actually saw the real number for like 5 seconds before the page would actually fully render and load.
We're going to get into some page speed stuff here. We got a couple of great questions coming in about page speed, and I'm going to show you guys something here as well. I did want to throw out that he did say, do you have any recommendations for phone tracking services, things like that? Two things I want to throw out. One, so I actually do have for LMI, since I do work out of a home office here, we actually do have an outside number that is a virtual number that immediately redirects to the number here. So I am using that for my business. So you can do that if you want to. But the other thing is from the call tracking system, and we can get into call tracking, a whole separate issue here somewhere down the road. The two best ones I recommend are CallRail and call tracking metrics. I'm sure there's other ones out there. Stephen just put in chat, he used the same too. Those are the two that I typically recommend. I'm sure there's other ones that are out there. Do you guys have any recommendations real quick?
Those are the two I recommend.
Yeah, me
awesome.
too.
Sounds good. All right. Let's move on to that one. You guys mind if I jump down to the website, Web Speed, Web Vitals one, since we've got a lot of questions coming in about that right now?
Go for it.
Do it.
You guys brought it? All right. Hey, so first of all, I got to share something with you guys. I'm kind of excited about this. Shared it with them a little bit earlier, but I want to show you this. Check this out, guys. This is Page Speed Insights, right? This is basically core web vitals for Local Marketing Institute. We're getting a 92 on mobile and a 95 on desktop. What does that mean?
Woo!
Everybody's asking, what does that mean? I mean, yeah, Ben goes, woo. This is actually a big deal. I'm very excited about this. Bottom line, what this means is, we talked about Web Vitals during last episodes. I won't go too deep. Bottom line, Google's measuring really how fast your site is, how quickly people can, interact with the site, and how much elements shift around on the site. Those are the three biggest things that it's trying to look for. And so obviously, we're talking about if something's faster, you want a fast, secure, responsive website. Well, Google's also saying, they're taking that a little step further with Core Web Vitals is what that is. So anybody who's ever done this and tried this before knows that Core Web Vitals to try to get a score in the 90s, especially on mobile, is incredibly difficult. That being said, I'm still failing Core Web Vitals. Look at FCP and CLS. Yes, I know I'm not 100% on this, but I'm happy with the 95. So appreciate that. But a couple of key things that I want to show out here is how is this happening? So first of all, there are a couple of themes out there. Without getting too deep into this, it starts with the web hosting, then moves up to what content management system you're using, then to your theme, then to everything you add on to that, right? Just kind of simplifying this big time. The one biggest thing that I always talk about with businesses who are looking, they're always looking for what's the cheapest web hosting I can get, right? So I point out this, look, you wouldn't print out your menus or your marketing brochure or, your documents on toilet paper. Don't use cheap web hosting. Cheap web hosting is like toilet paper. That doesn't mean you have to go out and spend a ton of money on it, but guys, don't look for the cheapest option on that, right? You're not going to go out and buy yourself some, crap out old truck for business presentation purposes. Maybe somebody do, but bottom line is don't use cheap web hosting. It starts there. Number two, a great question came into the chat. I'm not seeing the same kind of Web Vitals scores on things like Squarespace versus WordPress versus Wix versus Weebly. All right, these website builders that are out there, they're nice. There's an attractiveness to them because they're easy to put together, easy to operate. I will say this, when I've done testing for things of both speed and things like schema markup and other things like that, I have yet to see Squarespace, Wix, or Weebly perform anywhere near as well as a WordPress website can perform. JB, you want to throw out something here?
Yes. So Morty Oberstein, who is the liaison over at Wix, has been doing a lot of work on the back end. In fact, he got into a little tussle this morning on Facebook in one of those Facebook SEO groups, and they deleted his thing. But he was legitimately asking for feedback and ways that Wix can improve. What was it last week? They just came out with their advisory council. And and our previous guest Cindy Crum was on there. So there are
Great.
6 people that are brilliant minded that are there to help fix and improve the issues with Wix. Let's see, who else is another good one? Not Squarespace, but Shopify. So Shopify has really up the ante to fix issues and increase speed. Wix is going to go that same route as well. So I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot of, bad blood and, people, turn their noses at Wix, but Wix is really trying to fix their reputation. And I actually saw something that the Wix team was about to pull the trigger on and do. And Morty, convinced them against it. And it really would have solidified their nasty reputation. So there is definitely a conscientious effort to clean it up. So I'm not saying, hey, go rush out and get into Wix right now. But I'm like, if you keep an eye on Wix, and I think Wix is going to start to get better. And Morty and I are going to run an SEO test, I think next week, and we're going to see if we can actually come up with a clean product for local businesses that struggle the most with SEO and websites.
So one thing here really quickly, Eric, that's this. So a lot of people actually don't know this about me, but I am a 15-year veteran in the web hosting space. And so all of these companies that you're talking about, I saw when they first came out. I know exactly what they're about. And also watched the rise and fall of pricing to be commoditized in the hosting industry. So the hosting industry is basically like your electrical bill in a sense, right? You have to have web hosting if you're going to be online. My recommendation is don't go with one of these templated type of companies, except maybe Wix these days. I don't know. But migration from one platform to another, once you're in these like cheap guys, is like a nightmare usually. Like if you're on GoDaddy, if you're on their Website Tonight product, for instance, then forget about it. You're going to have to rebuild. My recommendation is at the minimum is actually just get a VPS, virtual private server. So you're going to pay $20, $30 a month, and you'll be in a shared hosting environment with maybe 30 to 50 other companies, versus you could go the expensive route, which is a dedicated server, which is just your server. But the shared hosting route, I mean, yeah, you could pay $295, $395, $495 a month, but you're going to have a horrible experience. And you're also going to be on there with about 1,000 or 2,000 other people.
Yeah. Totally agree. I mean, we could dive into web. We ought to do a whole thing on different web hosting and things like that. There's a whole thing we could go into, but it'd be too tough. There are a lot of hosting options out there that are available that do well. I do want to make sure that as you guys are checking out, just check it, look at it. I was really thrilled about this, and I wanted to share something because Andy piped in on Facebook out here, and I want to share. I didn't do anything special on this. I did one little thing in WordPress that made the whole change. And again, here's the shout out to Blake Denman again, because Ben, you introduced me to him a couple of weeks ago. I've been chatting with him. Love the guy. We got to get him on the show sometime. Yeah. But he introduced me to something called NitroPack. This is not an ad. They're not paying me for this. I'm doing it because I've experimented with it. By the way, I'm right now also helping a plumbing company in Milwaukee. They're running on a VPS, virtual private server, Ben, based on Amazon Web Services, right? And they're running WordPress with the Astra theme and the Elementor, page builder. Yep. They're getting in the 90s as well without using NitroPack. But anyway, here's a little thing, NitroPack. Check it out if you want to use it. If you do the free one, a lot of people are saying they use like NitroPack as well. If you use the free version of this, which is up to 5,000 page views a month, there is a little ad at the bottom of your page. It sticks on there. If you want to use the paid version, it's like 20 something bucks a month, $200 a year if you're going to use it. So anyway, I'll throw that out there. Again, there's a lot of work we do have to do on the LMI site, but I was just really looking at, how can I, without rejiggering everything, quickly speed up the site. And this was a great little thing that did the trick. So I wanted to share that with you all.
Cool.
And I want to say one thing about speeds and, and we're looking at, Web Vitals and all that stuff. I mean, if your score is, pretty good and you're in the greens, like you don't really have to worry too much about tweaking it, because we haven't really seen, drastic ranking improvements when you're already in the green zone. So, but if you're going to go from like a 50 to a 70, you won't see much of an increase. But if you're at like a 20, and you go into and you get yourself all the way up to like an 89, yeah, then you will definitely see that boost and an enhancement. So, I mean, yeah, would it be great to get 100? Sure. Is it going to be a make or break at the end of the day? No. So it wouldn't be one of those things I would super obsess over to hit all greens. I mean, take it for what it is.
Yep. All right, well, let's move on. I'm sure we'll have plenty more we can talk about with web hosting and all that. It's a huge thing. JB, question for you here. For a brand new local website, what's the easiest, quickest way to get links? Link building is a whole other thing we can spend a whole session on, but give me some of your quick thoughts on that.
Well, it's going to depend on what the business and the industry is, of how you're going to go about, getting links. I mean, if you're, if people know who you are and you've built up quite a following, it's like Aaron White. It's like when Aaron White, goes and builds a brand new website, people are going to be sharing it and talking about it and linking to it and using it and doing write-ups and studies about it. So he's already going to have that following. But if you're like brand spanking new in your local business, then, you're going to want to look at, good quality localized directory sites, citations, get in with the chamber, the BBB, find local sponsorship, opportunities in your area where you can, sponsor, a fun run, farmers market. I mean, I know it's a little bit more difficult with COVID, but there's right now, there's all these organizations and events that are hard up for money and sponsorship. So I think now is like the ultimate time to donate to local businesses in your area and get yourself out there. You can try and capture some buzz by, doing something worthwhile and newsworthy in your area. So like right now, Port Texas, they are underwater. But if you are able to, come up with a way where you can do a fundraiser and start collecting, water, cooking supplies, anything like along those lines, and ship it out there, and you can have that opportunity to go viral in a good way, then people are going to start sharing your content. They're going to start writing about you. They're going to, you might make it on the news, and then you'll just start getting like an influx of good quality reviews. That's me.
The only thing out there, Jason, I've seen work really well is I've seen a lot of businesses, I've seen a lot of businesses become contributing columnists for local newspapers, local magazines, local bloggers. And oftentimes they will include a link back to that business's website as part of the author bio. So I think you covered it. I think the only other thing I'd throw out there, Jason, is, hey, the core citations, right? Make sure you've claimed and optimized your Apple Maps, your Bing, your Facebook page. Get just those are the citations. But then you hit all the other ones: Chamber of Commerce, BBB, local sponsorships. Yeah, those are all good ways to do it. So
yeah, and there's one tool out there actually that I'm aware of, which is called Sprout Local. And they were a local U sponsor, and they can help you find those sponsoring type of places, basically, where you can get a local sponsorship. And also, I personally like Whitespark. So I like Whitespark for finding local citations. I've used it for myself. So no, they're not paying me to say this. So those are the two that I would recommend.
Or SparkToro is another one that people have been, singing the praises on. So you can find, podcasts and people in your industry that are sharing ideas and get involved with and all that stuff.
You use SparkToro, really?
I did not say that. I said people are saying SparkToro. Difference.
Also, Bright Local.
Yeah, Bright Local and Whitespark are two good companies that can help you get your citations all put up there. So that's awesome. All right, let's move on here. Ben, here's a good one for you. What's the right image size for Google My Business Products? This is by Lynn. I'm uploading images to GMB products and want to repurpose a flyer with the top of the image available. Original image is 1200 by 857. But I don't have the image size that would work.
So, we did this a while ago. We have a post on Steady Demand that basically has a Photoshop guide that you can use to basically make your GMB posts, the image perfectly centered. The problem with posts is because they're going across multiple surfaces, meaning that they're going from mobile, maps, you've got what we call a local finder, and then you've got search. So they're all different crops. And what Google will do is when you make your posts, product posts are the same thing, by the way, as regular posts. So, but when you're making them, Google's going to crop it differently for every single one. So use a crop guide and center what you want and make it look how you want, and then cut it and then use it as your image. So I think you've got the link for that, which has our PDF guide. But as far as image size goes, to answer that directly, so it's 1076 by 815, even though Google asks you to do a much higher size, or it says you can go higher. But we found that to kind of be the sweet spot.
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, and I think you brought up a key point here, though, and this is actually why Google recommends it, and even Facebook recommends this. Don't use things that have a lot of text on them. Yeah. And the main reason why is because they're resizing and cropping those images in all kinds of different ways for different views. So honestly, I usually don't don't just put up a flyer. Don't put up a flyer. Use real photos in GMB posts, and always keep the subject of the photo in the upper third of the image and in the middle third of the image. If you 10%. Do that, pardon?
10% is what Google recommends.
10%
text.
Yeah. I'm talking more about the fact that I've seen a lot of folks who will put text and images. They'll upload those images, either they'll Google My Business profile, or they'll share them on social media, or they'll put it in Facebook. But depending upon whether you're on mobile or on desktop or on what view you're looking at, it's cutting off the important text. So that's what I'm saying, guys, I don't recommend putting text on it. Just use that and keep the main subject of your photo in the upper third and in the middle third, because if they're going to crop images will be cropped from the outside in and from the bottom up. So for whatever that's worth. Hey, Daniel put in an interesting comment in here. I want to go back to the link building thing, Jason. He talked about great way to do links is to do a bunch of press releases and build a Google stack. You want to address that?
Press releases don't work as much anymore. I think Google has just kind of discredited that. I mean, that used to work really great, wonderful back in the day, but I have not seen press releases have any real, impact. And this Google stack, because I think it's this another new shiny object thing that a lot of people are buying into and claiming. And I honestly, I've not seen any value in it. Again, the people that do it, and I said this a lot. They created GMB listing with an exact match name for the keywords that they want to go for. They upload it with a bunch of fake reviews with their keywords and geo modifiers in there, and then they send a bunch of links to it. They do a bunch of press releases. They, do the Google stack. They do the daisy chain of the Google Google posts. They do the geotagging, the XF data. Like, they do all these different things, and they sit there and say, okay, this is what you need to do. So I don't see press releases being really worth the while. I mean, it was a tactic that I used back in 2009. I tried using it again in 2016, and it did not do anything to move the needle. I mean, and we used PR Web. I've used all sorts of different services. So it's not, you're literally just setting your money on fire using that instead of trying to actually contact real legitimate newsworthy people in your area, local news reporters or newspapers.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, I forget exactly what year this was, but I'm thinking it's like 4 or 5 years ago. First of all, Cuts came out, specifically, and actually said that press releases don't work. By the way, Google also publicly came out and said press releases don't work. Mueller has come out and said press releases don't work. One link, syndicated content does not work. As a matter of fact, if you do that, it better be canonicalized. And this whole thing about Google stacking, Jason's dead on. I mean, realistically, I come from a semantic search background, and there are some Google properties in the past have worked to feed information to Google, but this whole concept of Google stacks and building Google Maps and all this stuff, it's a waste of time.
And I think that's what it boils down to. It's like, hey, want to put out a press release, put out a press release. It's not going to necessarily hurt anything. Is it really going to move the needle big? Not necessarily. There's just a lot of other things that can be done. And I think this is kind of the fundamentals of what we try to do here at Local Marketing Institute is say, look, there's all kinds of little machinations that you could try to do out there to manipulate the algorithms and try to boost things up. But the algorithms are constantly going to change. The tactics are constantly going to change. And the benefit of these little things is not as huge as doing the fundamentals and doing it right well. Again, the whole Pareto principle, 80-20, right? 20% of your efforts are going to generate 80% of the results. So we like to focus on the fundamentals here. I'm going to jump into one last quick question here, and then we're going to try to call this a wrap, unfortunately, for today. I see a lot of questions. We'll get them in the queue, hopefully, for next week. Jason, can an insurance agent have its own GMB listing separate from the insurance company he's with?
Yes, definitely you can, as long as you set it up properly. So it's called a practitioner listing. So say you're with State Farm, and so you're at that location. So you would set it up as, example, Ben Fisher space State Farm. But as long as you have all of your documentation, you have your licensing, you actually have an office and you are affiliated with them, then yes, you can have that. And 9 times out of 10, State Farm will put you on their own website. So you'll actually be listed on there. And it works as well with realtors too. So people always ask about realtors. So it works with dentists, doctors, lawyers, in those categories.
Realtors, CPAs, any of those things who are kind of practitioners, if you would. So if you go to the Google My Business Help document, I'll put this link in the chat for everybody. You'll see that here's the link to the guidelines, and it talks about individual practitioners and the fact that individual practitioners can indeed create their own GMB listings separate from the business that they are part of. So we could maybe dive in that a little bit here separately. Steven just said, by the way, I just installed NitroPack and my site went from a score of 19 to 100. Thank you.
Whoa, yeah. Nice. Just one thing to note about this is also, an important part right there is where it's talking about solo practitioners that belong to branded organizations, and how you can basically name yourself. And it's totally acceptable to name yourself, name of organization like State Farm, Allstate, etc., your individual name. Doesn't work that way really actually you can do it in real estate too. But
Brenda, I know you bring up a couple things here about NitroPack, saying that it explicitly checks for some of these systems that check for site speed, and it makes adjustments kind of on the fly. So it's kind of smoke and mirrors. It's not really improving the speed. I'm going to verify that. So valid point, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to verify. I've checked with some other third-party tests, and frankly, my own personal tests. LMI has been running a hell of a lot faster than it used to be. So we'll double check that on it, but I appreciate you, let's call it up. Let's make sure that we are indeed talking the right things. So we'll try to validate that here. So want to throw out one more thing here. This was a real nice thing I just want to end on here from Arik up in Idaho. He's wondering if we actually currently accept new clients. He said, I listen to every one of your podcasts, sometimes 2 or 3 times, so it sticks. We make information easy to understand and clarify specific slang or references so that even us noobs can finally understand. And thanks for that. He said, by the way, huge fan also of the podcast. Just wait, Belarus won't be the only place to be ranked 5th in. So I appreciate that. I want to let you know that here at Local Marketing Institute, we do not specifically take on local business clients. I will work with some friends and family people that I know and help them out. Jason and Ben do. And we also know a lot of other great experts who can help. So if you do actually need some help, let us know. I'll pass your name along to some people who are very reputable in the market and have proven themselves and are ethical as well. Anyway, that was it for today. Again, I wanted to talk about, don't forget to join us next week when Joe Danzer is going to talk with us about Google Street View and 360-degree photos and virtual tours. It's going to be an absolute blast. So if we don't talk before, I really hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Ben, Jason, thanks, my friends.
Happy Friday. Thanks.
Cheers.